In the presentation today, we'll be going over pumped storage hydroelectricity.
The next thing we're going to talk about is the levelized cost of energy for pumped hydrogen. Since pumped hydrogen is a storage type, we need to calculate the LCOS instead of energy, which has a similar but somewhat different equation than LCOE. For a levelized cost of storage, the equation is basically the same, except for the numerator of the equation you need to add charging cost as well as end-of-life cost. Also, in the denominator, instead of electricity generated, it would be electricity discharged. This equation for LCOS is outlined below in equation 1. As for the actual LCOS of pumped hydrogen, it is around $150 to $400 US dollars per megawatt hour, with a 96% chance of getting the minimum LCOS for the first 5 years. That percentage then decreases to around 60% chance of getting the minimum LCOS for the preceding 5 years after that. Most of the cost in LCOS is from capital costs, and the least amount of money is spent on operating and maintenance. Even for years later in pumped hydrogen's life cycle, while the probability of minimum LCOS gets much lower as seen in the graph, the range of LCOS is still lower than competing technologies. Pumped hydrogen is also mainly used for its secondary response, as its discharge time is longer than the substitutes for energy storage and can hold a larger amount of energy. On the other hand, pumped hydrogen is dominated by flywheels in primary response, since they have a shorter discharge time but can't hold as much energy. Batteries are also a competitive substitute for pumped hydrogen since their LCOS drops significantly after the first year. Overall, pumped hydrogen is an extremely competitive technology when it comes to talking about levelized cost of storage, and is mostly used for secondary response due to its large capacity and longer discharge time.
A common issue with many renewable energy resources, as well as energy use in general, is the lack of being able to store energy during off-peak energy consumption periods. Pumped hydro solves this issue by utilizing an elevation difference between two reservoirs. Water is pumped to a higher elevation reservoir when there is a surplus of energy being produced. Then, when the demand for energy is high again, the water is released back down to the lower elevation reservoir. This spins a turbine along the way, converting the potential energy of water into mechanical work and then back into electricity. The main advantage of using a pumped hydro system is the fact that you can store and dispatch energy on command. This helps solve problems with many renewable energy sources, such as wind and solar, because it solves the issue of unevenly distributed energy production based on the environment. This means that pumped hydro could be a huge part of efficient energy use in the future.
Currently, California has a 10,000 megawatt grid, which is equivalent to about 5 nuclear plants, but wants to add another 4,000 by the end of this year. This is why pumped storage hydropower has become popular in Southern California. It fills the gap that solar and wind can't, which is why it's such a good storage option. By 2030, California plans to have 50% of its electricity be renewable, so I wouldn't be surprised to see more and more pumped hydro storage systems. Arizona is said to have a 2 gigawatt storage system in place in the upcoming years. With the recent surge in renewable energy, pumped storage units have become appealing based on how well they pair with wind and solar. Currently, there are about 30 proposed pumped storage units in the U.S. awaiting for a preliminary permit. Although 20 gigawatts of energy storage may seem like a lot, China is said to complete a 40 gigawatt system this year, ahead of the 2022 Winter Olympics. This feat will cost about $2.78 billion US dollars. To bring PSHs back to a local scale, Cabin Creek, which is about 35 miles west of Denver, holds a pumped storage hydropower system that has been running for over 50 years. However, recently, it has been proposed to upgrade it so that it lasts another 40 years. Xcel Energy requested $88 million to renovate the old site with new pumps and runners, which will continue supplying energy to about 27,000 homes. It's great to see an incline in popularity of pumped hydro due to the efficiency and low effect on environments they're placed in.
For our feasibility matrix, we decided to compare two pumped hydro projects and two alternate energy storage methods: flywheels and batteries. For technology for pumped hydro, it already exists. It's using the same technology that is used in hydroelectric dams for the last couple decades. It is getting better with improved friendliness for wildlife and fish-friendly turbines and low-clearance turbines, and improved energy output. Flywheels have been around since the existence of the steam engine, so that technology is also well established. Batteries, the difficulty with them right now is there's either long life in the batteries or high output and good reliability. You can't really have both. Economics, yet again, for pumped hydro, it's really low, even compared to hydroelectric dams, because you are building in a dry area and then filling with water. You don't have to build a diversion dam and block an active waterway. Flywheels are more expensive because they're designed to fix drops and peaks in power and not do large amounts of storage like pumped hydro. So for them, you have to have a lot to make up for the small size and energy output of the flywheel. Texas batteries are also expensive. You have to process a lot of chemicals and a lot of rare metals and materials to make batteries. Environmental, fundamentally, to do pumped hydro, you have to flood a section of land. This can lead to problems in ecosystems, displacing people, leaching chemicals that weren't supposed to be leached because that you have water where you used to not have water. Flywheel, very environmentally friendly. They are very small. They don't take up much land. It's just a spinning piece of metal, so there's almost no output once it's produced environmentally. Texas batteries, the reason that is also dark is because in recycling, you have a greater impact on the earth. Social political, the problem with the Navajo Nation project is because it is supplying energy to 3 states, getting all of the states to agree on how that energy should be divided is a challenge. It's also in a Indian reserve. So working with that and getting that all approved is difficult. But beyond that, energy storage is greenlit across the board for most things because it is to do highly with renewable energy.